Hi, I'm Susan. Welcome to Tea and Games. The tea this morning is Builders. I'm recording this a little bit earlier in the morning than usual, and I am having some technical difficulties because I've got a new setup here, and for some reason, my normal lighting is I'm not lit, so I'm just trying to figure this out. I hope you will bear with me until I get the new stuff worked out. Anyhow, welcome to new subscribers. I'm glad you're here. This is a very casual channel. My husband Robert and I are just weekend board gamers, average board gamers. And I am in the middle, the dead middle of a top 50 list, which I've never done before. I used PubMeeple to rank this list, and I did not rejigger anything when I did it. I've done 2 more episodes of sets of 10, so this is the third, which is right in the middle of the list. This is, to be clear, not an all-time great games list. This is basically just of games that we've played, games that are in our collection of games, which does not number in the thousands. So, but still, it would have been really hard to do this without the PubMeeple ranking system. But it's the first time I've used that, and that was just an interesting process all in itself. So, without further ado, and I will try to get these things out, the rest of the list out more quickly, assuming I can solve my technical difficulties. Without further ado, let's get into the list. Okay, we are now at number 30. Number 30 is Parks. And this game has just beautiful, beautiful artwork. It's like going to all of the U.S. national parks. The gameplay is very good. It's a strangely relaxing game. We've got some expansions rolled into it. I say strangely relaxing because not all board games, even board games with a relaxing theme, are ultimately relaxing board games. So it's like, oh, great, this actually is relaxing. But I've got, this box doesn't close well, so I'm kind of being careful with it here because I tried to stuff expansions in. Expansions don't fit into this box. This is a beautiful, casual, traveling through national parks kind of game. It is fairly lightweight. The artwork is, if you can see this here, stunning. Actually, this doesn't really even do it justice. It plays 1 to 5 players. And there are a number of variations off of this, but this is the original Parks. It is number 30. So many of you are familiar with this game because it's so well known. I feel like I don't need to say a whole lot. Okay, Parks. Number 29. Number 29 I've actually mentioned on some of my videos not that long ago, and that is Space Explorers from 25th Century Games. This game has got, well, as you can see, retro artwork, but also it's not, strictly speaking, a science fiction theme. It's more of a space theme without the fictional elements because the projects that you are trying to create are actual hardware projects that were from the space program back in the day. It is a very simple, light game. I've gotten some expansions for it. There is an expansion pack which has different modules you can roll in. It's called Age of Ambition. I did not pull it out here, but the base game, because we're not evaluating things on the basis of their expansions for this list. I kind of feel like a game has got to play well and be kind of wonderful, or I'm not getting the expansion. This whole idea that I've got a broken game and I need to get an expansion to make the game wonderful just doesn't fly with me. So, Space Explorers is a wonderful game. We enjoy playing it a lot. It's fairly simple. It plays up to 4, but it has one of the most interesting resource management mechanisms that I have run across. Admittedly, my experience in games is not vast, but yeah, you have these tokens that you pay for cards with. And there are other ways of paying for cards, like discounts on the cards, or as you build up your research center, you also get discounts in certain areas of research. So that helps with cards that are like super expensive, that take a whole bunch of icons to buy. But the tokens, you start off with one set of tokens of each color for every player in the game. Everybody's got their set. And that's all the resources in the game, folks. I mean, that's it. And when you pay for something at the beginning of the game, you're probably not going to have those nifty, handy dandy discounts until you start buying cards and adding them to your research center. So at the beginning of the game, the tokens, when you pay for something, they don't go out of the game back to the general supply. They go to the person on your left, I think. We usually play 2 players. I had to kind of stop and think about that for a minute. But they go to the person on your left. So and it says in the rule books, research should be shared. So anyhow, that is really, really nifty because particularly it becomes, I think, less of a factor. And I mean, nobody's going to hoard those tokens too much because you're going to need to spend them. I mean, even though you're getting discounts and stuff like that, you're going to need to spend the tokens. And so you're spending the tokens, and the tokens that you're spending for your cards go to another player who can then use them as tokens to buy cards that they might want. So, or play them down into their tableau. But yeah, it's interesting. And it's got this kind of retro artwork, which I know is going to be a super turnoff for some people because you like what you like. Art is subjective. But I'll give you some idea of what it looks like. But yes, we like this a lot. It's not difficult or brain burnery or anything like that, but it's just kind of fun. And that whole token circulation thing, plus the building up discounts as you play out more stuff, then you get stuff in that category cheaper. And then, of course, there are discounts on the bottom of the cards, some of the cards. But other of the cards will give you points. So you need to kind of figure out what you need the most. But once that card is covered up, you don't get the stuff on the bottom. You get the stuff on the bottom of the card you covered it up with. So there are decisions to be made, shall we say. But yeah, I like this game a tremendous amount. I am kind of surprised that it is in the middle of the list, but then again, we have a lot of really good games. But yeah, there's no way that this should be in the lower half of the list, but it's just right around the midsection there. Space Explorers at number 29. Number 28, okay, I need to kind of put a flag on this and say recency bias. Oh, it's heavier than I remember. Let's go to Japan. This is one I did not back the Kickstarter or GameFound or wherever the heck it was. I just decided to wait for retail. This game was published by AEG. They have a big catalog of games. We have, oh my gosh, I think I may have another AEG game just in this section of the list. But yeah, I knew that this game was going to come to retail. I didn't need the deluxeified version of it. So I just waited for retail and got it, and it is still a good game. So this is a game we've gotten in the past year. You are planning a trip to Japan. And the interesting thing about this is the backstory of the game. The designer of the game was planning a trip to Japan. And then the pandemic happened. And the world closed down. So he put his research into a game that is not strictly speaking a travel game. What it is, and this makes the theme a little bit unique, is it is a planning to travel game because you are visiting sites in Tokyo or Kyoto and taking trains between the cities. So you're laying out your cards and you are planning your trip. And if you put too many stressful things in there, like just get too much stuff and too many people and things going on, there are certain cards that it's going to be like, well, this is a good thing to do, but it might be just a teeny bit stressful. So you will lose stuff on your little happiness track there. So yeah, we got this past year, and we enjoy it. The artwork is beautiful, and it has really good and interesting flavor text on the cards. You could actually use this game to plan a trip to Japan, or if you're thinking about going to Japan. Am I turning this sideways? Yes, I am. If you're thinking about going, oh gosh, I hope it wasn't sideways earlier. If you're thinking about going to Japan, Tokyo and Kyoto specifically, this has just a lot of places to go and things to do, including board game stores. So it's just like things in Japan, and it's just a nice, lovely game. And we enjoyed a lot. It is on the lighter side. I would say that it is a family weight game. And that is my number 28. And I'm really kind of surprised it's that high because we haven't had it very long. But obviously we got a lot of enjoyment from it in the times we've played it this year. Let me see. That was number 28. Number 27. Where is it? Number 27 is another AEG game that we've had for many years, and it is The Captain is Dead. For a long time, this was like the co-op game we could not win. But we did eventually win it. It's basically kind of got a sci-fi humor spoof, particularly Star Trek. There are like little things in there that people that are really familiar with Star Trek will look at that and kind of like give a silent little chuckle, ha ha ha. But you are trying to repair stuff on your spaceship. The scenario starts off, the captain is dead. So consequently, the other people on the crew of the ship, and you have a huge number of crew with special powers to choose from, choose wisely. I think they may be supposed to be randomly distributed, but since we play this at such a low player count, that seems like it would kind of be cutting our throats. So we try to just make a judicious decision and make note of who we played with in case it works out really well. So, you know, which character we played with. But this will play up to 7 players. We have not, and it's sideways again, isn't it? 7 players, and we have not played it with that number. So we've only played it at lower player count, so I don't really know how well it plays at larger ones. It has got a big, bright, beautiful board. If you want a cure for the beige game, this could be it. It has little translucent standees. Besides repairing the ship, which is continually more things are going offline and you've got to get your reactor core back up. And besides repairing the ship, you also have to fight aliens that are boarding the ship. And so it's basically kind of got this sort of humorous sci-fi spoof kind of theme. It's got all of the standard sci-fi disaster kind of tropes on cards and things. And it's a nifty game if you like co-ops, if you like sci-fi, particularly Trek. This is The Captain is Dead, and it has been in our collection for a long time because it took us a while to win it, and now that we know kind of how to win it, or at least how to win it once, we're still playing. So yeah, we have a number of co-op games, and that's probably why this ended up mid-list. If I had done this list earlier, it would have been higher in the list because we would have had like fewer games to compare it with. But that is The Captain is Dead at number 27. Number 26 is another sci-fi themed game, and this one actually shocked me at that it turned up at number 26 on the list. This is a solo game, and I don't play solo all that often. We mostly play a 2-player. This is a Button Shy game. They make little small wallet games, buttonshygames.com, and it is Spaceship. It is a solo game in which you are moving your ship around, you're upgrading, you're trying to get these things, those diamonds, you can track everything on here. And the gameplay on this is just so smooth and so nifty that I find myself, when I pull it out to play it, I'm just going to play it and play it and play it and play it and play it. You know, it's like until something pulls me away. And I also have the expansion collection. They have an expansion collection wallet. I think they have at least one expansion that may not be included in the wallet. Because see, I bought all of my expansions separately, and then I got an empty wallet to put them all in because this thing just has so many expansions. And I should add that the big bad alien that you need to defeat, or at least not let him defeat you, it's tougher in the expansions than in the base game. So that's something to be aware of. If you play the base game and you're just so darn good at it that you think, oh wow, this is way too easy, perhaps you should roll in an expansion. I did not find it too darn easy. I just found it really interesting and enjoyable. I like the flow of the cards on the table, but that's just me. I do know I've run into people who were just not crazy about the way the cards flowed on the table and moving them around. So, to each his own. Spaceship is number 26. Number 25, exactly in the middle of the top 50 list, is New York Zoo by Uwe Rosenberg. It's got adorable meeples, polyominoes. I mean, what's not to like? This is probably my favorite of the Uwe Rosenberg polyomino games because I have trouble doing that polyomino thing in so many of his light polyomino placement games. This is a family weight game. Definitely get this for your family. This is a fun game. But this game, I do really well with the polyomino placement because part of it is mitigated by the animal breeding. And if you've played other Uwe Rosenberg games, like his farming games, you know that animal multiplication is one of those things. If you've got two animals, you get another animal. But in this case, only when you cross that specific area for that animal's breeding do you get another animal. And the animals have to be, polyominoes represent zoo pens. So you've got to have two of a creature in one pen, and you fill up one of those polyomino tiles and you get a special tile that helps you fill up those holes in your board. So yeah, this game has some really interesting dynamics. If you found Uwe Rosenberg's other polyomino games to be not your cup of tea, you might still want to look at some videos and research this one and see if maybe this one would work better for you, because goodness knows it works a lot better for me. I enjoy the other games. I like them a lot, but I just do tremendously better with this one than the other ones. And it is so much fun to play. And it's got some really interesting decisions too. And the meeples are adorable. Is that upside down? No, it's right side up. The meeples are adorable. So that is New York Zoo, which is number 25. We are exactly at the halfway point. And 24, and this makes it into the top half of the list, Village Rails. This is a really nifty small box game. You are building out a little tableau of cards by putting these cards here to build train tracks. And it's got a surprising amount of game in the small box. You are pulling train tiles to build out a 3x3 grid, or is it 4x4? Gosh, I'm going blank. Anyhow, you're building out a small grid and you have a frame around there for the grid. You can get trip cards, buy trip cards, I should say, that you can place on each trip, which will give you special bonuses for things that are on that rail line. And this is where it's tricky. You're looking at this and you're going like, oh no, I thought that, and then it crossed there, and that's not the same track I thought it was, because then this is on that other track. Yeah, you got to really look at trace the little train lines out, because if you just look at it at a glance, sometimes you can mess up. But we enjoy this. This has just got a really satisfying little game in a small box. And at the end of each thing, you put a destination ticket, which will also get you more stuff. Like you can match it to the type of train and terrain thingies that you got. There are no actual trains in this game. To the type of symbols that are on your tracks. And that gets you the coins that you need to buy the trips. And so it's got it. The mechanisms are really nifty. They work really, really well. It's a very enjoyable game. But yeah, this is, I would say in some ways this is a good travel game. Not to like play in the car or anything, but it's a very small box and it's got a small satisfying game that can play up to 4 in it. So, I mean, you could stick this into a suitcase and play with 4 players and have a really good game out of just a tiny little box. So that is Village Rails, number 24. Number 23, some of these games have been really small. Number 23 is big. In fact, I think I want to maybe move my tea out of the way. I have not yet knocked over tea during one of these videos, but there's always a first time. Number 23, Ticket to Ride Europe, the 15th anniversary. I always forget what number the anniversary is. The 15th anniversary edition. Okay, spoiler alert here. You're not going to find any Ticket to Rides higher on the list than this one, because this is our favorite of all of the Ticket to Rides. Ticket to Ride Europe 15th anniversary edition. It's got, well, you can see here on the back and at the beginning of this video, my little intro thingy, you can see some of the trains on this map. But you can see here it's got these nifty little tins and it's got like specialized trains that go across there. So it's got deluxeified components. But also, we just like this map. I like those big sprawling maps in which you can create really bizarre out of the way routes, as like nothing gets there by the direct route. At least not the way I play. But it's got a big, huge, beautiful full color map. It's got deluxeified trains. There's just really, and it's Ticket to Ride. I mean, what's not to like, really? I don't know that I can say too much about this because most people are familiar with Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride is a lot of people's gateway game. It is a great entry-level game. It is a terrific family weight game. It is a game that is still fully satisfying, even if you played it a whole bunch of times, which we have. And I just realized I had 2 train games in a row, though Village Rails didn't have any actual trains. Oh, it's kind of big. There's one downside to Ticket to Ride Europe 15th Anniversary Edition. It doesn't fit in a Kallax cube like the standard Kallax shelves. It has to go up on top. So that is Ticket to Ride Europe, the 15th Anniversary Edition, number 22. Number 22, and this is an empty box, and I'll explain that in a minute, is Moonrakers, which Moonrakers is kind of an unusual choice. Robert and I really enjoy this game a lot, but we don't like the 2-player version of this game at all. We think the 2-player version is ick. So we don't get to play this as often as we want. In order to have the full Moonrakers experience and a fully satisfying and enjoyable game, you really need at least 3. So we don't play this as often as we want. But I did get the Titan box and moved my base game over there and got the expansions for it, because some of the expansions are, I feel like, really make the game significantly better. Mind you, we had, as you can see, the game before the whole Titan box expansions thing started, before they did that thing. We had the game and already liked the game before then. But I do think that some of the expansions, particularly the Overload expansion with the new cards, I do think that they make a significant improvement on the game. That being said, it's a perfectly good game as is. But I really like the negotiation aspect of it because you're splitting your rewards when you negotiate stuff in order for all of you to ramp up simultaneously. But at a certain point, you need to be able to have built enough of a structure, an engine, to be able to solo some of those missions so that you get all the stuff, which is how you get ahead. So yeah, it is a really good game. And if you're looking for a negotiation game that is, I mean, I've seen some negotiation games and I'm kind of going like, that looks pretty unpleasant, sort of vicious. And I think that you could be really vicious with this, but our negotiations and people that we played the game with in which we negotiate, I mean, it was tough sometimes, but I mean, it wasn't as violent as the negotiations in some other games that I've seen. But yes, this is space exploration and doing missions and gaining resources and negotiating to complete the missions. Let me see, I think I can retrieve my mug OT here. That was number 22. Number 21. Number 21, I just noticed there's a lot of sci-fi or space-oriented games right here, just like chunked right into this middle 10 of the list. And we continue with that with Tiny Epic Galaxies. Tiny Epic Galaxies does not suffer from recency bias. This is one of the games that we have had for years. It goes back a ways. This is one of the earliest games we've got. It is very enjoyable, very small box. It is less complicated than some of the later Tiny Epic games, but we kind of like that. And you are just... You're putting out cards and sending little rocket ships to those planets or putting them in orbit around the planets, depending upon which you... I almost tipped that over. Depending upon which you choose, and you get to do other things, and I've totally blown my train of thought by almost tipping a pile of games off the table. But yeah, it's got wooden components, which are really nice. It's got a nice little mat and cards and things. And we have a mini expansion and the something Into the Black, Beyond the Black, something like that expansion, and we haven't played it. We just keep pulling out the base game. We need to do that because we do like this so much. That's why I got the expansion. I don't get expansions for games that we don't just really like. So yeah, this is one of our favorite games that goes way back. And it is number 21 on the list. And yeah, like I said, this list seems like it's kind of got a thing going all of its own. Like this set of 10, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 sci-fi games and 1 space game. That's like 5 that are in space out of a set of 10 in the middle of the list. And then we have 2 train games in there. So it's like there's kind of this, like it's like this list has got its own little themes going. So that's that set of 10 from 30 through 21. And I'm going to try to get the top 20 through 1 recorded pretty soon here, because I'm starting to I ended up a week behind on talking about games that we're playing, and we are playing some really good games. But first I need to kind of figure out these technical issues. See, the light is not right. It's dark in here. But we are in October. See, October, so spooky. Yeah, I've got spooky lighting. So anyhow, I will get back with you with more top 10. There will not be a top 10 absolutely every week. Well, maybe there will. I haven't quite decided if I'm going to do the top 20 as 1 video or 2. And how often they'll come out. But I do need to start putting some of these out a little bit faster so we can get to spooky season games. And it has been fun just sitting around the table chatting with y'all about games. This is the middle of the list, and it's quite a mixed bag in some ways, with recent games and old games and solo games, and a lot of them family weight. As a matter of fact, looking at it, I wouldn't necessarily say Moonrakers or The Captain is Dead as family weight, but the rest of these games are all family weight games right here in the middle of the list. So I will see y'all next time round the table. Bye.